Hello, this is Kate from dailytarotgirl.com. This is your weekly tarot card reading, and I'm going to be using the Prisma Visions Tarot by James Eads. And normally you see me shuffling my cards, but today you won't because I already shuffled them. I got partway through this reading and then my camera died because the memory card was full. So I didn't want to choose all new cards because I really like these cards, so I'm just starting over again. So the card that we have for the beginning of the week is the Fool. So I've drawn 3 cards. Each card is going to represent a portion of the upcoming week. And what's kind of exciting about this reading is I believe, when does New Year's happen? New Year's is going to happen on, I guess kind of here, right? Because is New Year's Eve Tuesday? Yeah. Okay, so New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. All right, so we're starting with the Fool. Now, I love that. I love that we're starting with the Fool because the Fool is really similar to the Aces in the tarot in that it signifies new beginnings and fresh starts. But what it really signifies is your attitude and having this attitude of being willing to start with a blank slate, being willing to let go of expectations, let go of assumptions, stop pretending or assuming that you know everything. Stop assuming that you know how things are going to go, or that you know what people are going to do, or what people are thinking, or any of that stuff. I find that sometimes the older we get, the more numb we get to things, and the more we just kind of start going through the motions and making assumptions about life and how things are without truly being present. So the Fool invites you to touch with feeling, and when you look at something, to really see it, be open to seeing, be open to hearing, be open to listening attentively with an open mind, and just being really present in the moment and present with the people that you're interacting with. Whether these interactions are meaningful or not meaningful, any interaction can be deep and meaningful if you're fully present. Even interactions that on the surface may seem shallow. So the Fool is inviting you to really open yourself, because when you touch with feeling, when you are fully present, when you really look at something and see it, you're allowing yourself to open. And when you allow yourself to be open and soft, you also become vulnerable, and that's the double-edged sword with this card. So the Fool likes to dive into things head first. He's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and optimistic, and sometimes that can backfire because you make yourself vulnerable when you do that. So sometimes everything works out and it's fantastic, and sometimes it doesn't, and that's the risk you have to be willing to take in order to be truly alive in this world. And that's basically what the Fool is all about. So the Fool is inviting you, and what I love is that this card is for the New Year's, for New Year's Eve. And so the Fool is inviting you to start this new year off on a different foot. This isn't about setting goals. This isn't about pursuing anything. It's about opening and allowing yourself to be vulnerable in that way. So as we move into the week, so this is Wednesday, Thursday, so again, this would be like New Year's Day, and then the day after, we have 7 of Chalices, also known as 7 of Cups. And I'm actually just going to zoom in a little here. All right, so 7 of Cups. This is an interesting 7 of Cups. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of movement. And I feel like there's a lot of passion, like the pink and the red, and then we have a snake coming out of one of the cups. There's just a lot of movement and energy with this card. So what does it mean? What does 7 of Cups mean? So 7 of Cups signifies options and choices. And as you start this new year, it's really important to take stock of what your options are. What choices do you have? Sometimes we forget that we have choices. Sometimes we feel like we're stuck in a rut and we forget that we have options and we have choices. So first step is taking stock of that. What are your options? What are the different doorways that are open to you right now? And also, what doorways do you wish were open to you? You know, what doorways are you trying to open? You know, just taking kind of an inventory. I find like this is always a valuable thing to do at the start of a new year, or some people do this on their birthday. Some people do it on Halloween, but just kind of taking stock of things. Another thing with this card, actually, I'm just going to look at it a little more closely here. To me, the snake can represent renewal, shedding your skin and shedding kind of old habits and habitual ways of doing things. The Seven of Chalices also warns you not to get wrapped up in fantasy or in fantasy about how things could be, or how things should be, or how you want things to be. Sometimes that's a trap. It's a trap that can pull us out of this, you know, presence of being fully in the moment and being open. So that's the warning of the Seven of Cups. But essentially, I feel like the message is about kind of taking stock of your options and what's available to you. And one thing I want to say about this card is I get the feeling a lot of us have way more options and possibilities available to us than we even realize. And sometimes when we stop and think about it, we realize how many possibilities there really are, which can be really beautiful. So this last card is for the weekend. So this is for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And here we have the Emperor, which is interesting. So I'm getting two strong vibes with the Emperor. Number one is the Emperor's stubbornness, and number two is just this, the Emperor's ability to be independent and to make his own rules. So I'm going to start with, I guess I'll start with the second, the second interpretation. So the Emperor is a powerful card. And what's actually interesting is that he's shown up in the same reading as the Fool. And in some ways, the Fool and the Emperor, I wouldn't call them opposite, but they are very different energies. So the Fool is, I think of that as being more of a young, optimistic, almost a childlike energy. It's soft, it's open, it's adventurous and curious, whereas the Emperor, he's figured some things out. He's very strong and powerful. He knows who he is, and he makes his own rules. And those are the positive aspects of the Emperor. The negative aspects of the Emperor is that he, in some ways, builds a wall, almost like an energetic wall of defensiveness around him. He doesn't want, his biggest fear is being controlled by someone else or something else. He doesn't want to be controlled. He wants to be his own person. He wants to be totally sovereign and free and in control at all times. So his biggest worry is to be controlled. And in some ways, the Emperor, he's figured out what works for him, and he's really set in his ways. So what does all of this mean for the weekend? I think this weekend is a good opportunity for you to recognize yourself as being this really sovereign, independent power in your own life. You have the power to make your own rules. You have the power to live by your own value system, your own unique set of morals. And I guess what I mean by that is sometimes if we don't do this, we end up living by someone else's set of rules, someone else's values and what they think is important. And if you don't figure out what your own set of rules and values and morals are, I feel like it can make you really miserable. So there's a lot of value in doing that. All right, so the Emperor, I think, is about, in a lot of ways, kind of standing your ground about what's important to you and drawing a line in the sand. And I feel like this card is also about boundaries and not letting others tell you what to do or to push you around, and really consulting your own self, your own intuition about what your next steps should be or where you're going to put your focus and attention. All right, so I've rambled far too long. So I'm just going to quickly look at these cards together and see if I'm noticing anything that's jumping out. I always find it interesting in this deck how the minor arcana cards appear bigger than the majors, because the majors have borders and the minors don't have borders. But as always, I want to invite you to look at these cards. And if you feel like sharing, share with me which card you can relate to the most, or which card really speaks the loudest to you. Or is there a particular symbol that you see appearing again and again? One symbol I notice here is there's the symbol of the 0, then there's this life ring, which is actually a really interesting symbol, the life ring around the post. I feel like I could have gone into that a little bit more, but I'm just noticing it now. And then there's this circle of light and color above the Emperor. And then again, there's some swirls happening here, and there's little vortexes of energy here as well. These are all really interesting symbols, and if I had all day, I could go into them in depth. But I will leave it to you to ponder and think on. So I just want to say thank you for watching. I hope you found this reading helpful, and stay tuned. I'm going to be posting my New Year's forecast reading in the next day or so. So stay tuned for that. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an awesome week.